Joe Biden won the presidency decisively, and he did it in a country that is nearly as polarized as it has ever been. We now have basically the final vote count, right? Biden's margin of victory is over 7 million votes, 4.5 points in the popular vote. It's a larger margin of victory than Barack Obama's win over Mitt Romney in 2012. Obama, of course, was an incumbent then, running for re-election with all the advantages of that. And it's larger than George W. Bush's win over John Kerry in 2004. Again, an incumbent defeating a challenger. And get this, that 51.3%, it's the highest vote share of any candidate challenging a sitting incumbent since FDR's win over Herbert Hoover back in 1932. And that's because it is hard to beat incumbents. So hard, in fact, that only 4 elected presidents have lost in the last 100 years. But the country rejected Donald Trump. In the weeks since election night, we've been on this roller coaster ride. The polls were off again, and Trump looked like he might pull it out on election night. And then, of course, there was the long, drawn-out counting process, and we waited for days for the outcome in a few key states. And then, of course, there was the president's ongoing attempted coup, for lack of a better or more precise word. In the end, Joe Biden won cleanly and clearly and fair and square. But as that comes into view, we should not forget that we also dodged a bullet. I mean, the outcome in this election came down to just a few tens of thousands of votes in the right places. Biden won Arizona, flipping it blue for the first time in more than 20 years by just over 10,000 votes. In Georgia, the margin was hardly any bigger, less than 12,000 votes. And in Wisconsin, it was a little more than 20,000. Those 3 states, Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, have a combined total of 37 electoral votes. And Joe Biden won them by a combined margin of just under 43,000 votes. If you flipped just those 43,000 to Trump, out of nearly, again, 160 million votes cast nationwide, the Electoral College would have ended up tied, 269 to 269. And we would be in a mess, a nightmare scenario, where the House of Representatives would get to decide the election, but with each state delegation getting only 1 vote. Now, if you just add 1 congressional district to those 3 states, say Nebraska's 2nd district, where Biden won by 22,000 votes, well, that's the whole ballgame, a second Trump turn. It would take only 65,000 votes, a tiny, tiny, trivial fraction of the entire electorate going the other way. 65,000 votes in 3 states and 1 congressional district against a popular vote margin of 7 million, of a popular vote margin of 4.5%. This is the problem with the Electoral College. It's random at a certain level. I mean, the thing itself is a slapdash compromise thrown together at the end of the Constitutional Convention as they were way out the door. And for most elections in our history, the outcome of the Electoral College has been the same as the popular vote. But now they are systematically diverging. I mean, it's happened twice in the previous 5 elections, each going in the direction of the same party, the Republicans winning without a popular vote. And it is now a ticking time bomb. If we do not change it, it will absolutely cause some kind of constitutional crisis and democratic breakdown. I am sure of that. Now, scrapping the Electoral College in favor of a simple popular vote would be an enormous change, requiring either a constitutional amendment or a coordinated interstate compact. And both would be hard. They would represent a huge structural shift in how the country is governed. But that's the history of this country. We used to not have equal protection due processes enshrined in the 14th Amendment. Before the 17th Amendment, we didn't even directly elect our senators. Women couldn't vote until 100 years ago. We need large-scale democratic reform, like we've done before, if we are going to save American democracy.